This is a new day. This is a new day full of sound, beautiful light. It is cold, but the light is quite strong, and expectation. This day has been waiting. This day has been waiting for you. This day has been waiting with open arms, just for you. This is the day we have been given. Let's not waste it. Come now and let us worship together. Please rise and body your spirit for our first hymn. 104. I love this hymn. Feel free to bring your big voices to this one. 104 in the gray hymnal.
Land, let my people go, oppressed so hard they could not stand, let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land, tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. The Lord told Moses what to do. Let my people go to lead the tribe of Israel through. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land, tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. For you the cloud shall clear the way, let my people go. A fire by night, a shade by day, let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land, tell old Pharaoh, let my people
Good morning. Hi, my name is Michael Condor, and I welcome you to this church, known as UUYO. We're so glad you're here, and we invite you to join us after service for coffee. We have a few announcements. First, in the boardroom meeting after church, there's a gathering for all those interested in an LGBTQ plus ministry to our local community and beyond. Anyone is welcome to attend. Second, Linda Scharf, a certified mindfulness teacher, will be offering meditation tonight on Zoom at 7 p.m. Eastern. All are welcome to attend that as well. And finally, you can join Melissa Smith on our Zoom channel for tea and conversation this Tuesday at 4 p.m. It's lively and comforting. All are welcome. And Min Rayleigh was to present our chalice lighting today, but due to technical complications, she wasn't able to do it on Zoom. So she did pass along her chalice lighting for me to read to you now. Unlike my usual style, this chalice lighting will be short. I'll start by saying that I'm a proud nerd, a sci-fi nerd, and it is only logical that the first thing I thought of when I heard the topic was resistance is futile. If you know the line, and you are a proud Trekkie like me, then you also know that resistance is not in fact futile, and usually, at least in Hollywood, the good guy wins in the end. There are several definitions of the word resistance: exercised resistance bands and the resistance to use them to exercise, the refusal to accept or comply with something, the attempt to prevent something by action or argument. Resistance is a measure of the opposition to current flow in an electrical circuit. The ability not to be affected by something, especially adversely. An example, some of us have a lower resistance to cold than others. And finally, defiance. Resistance stands up to oppression, like the French resistance in World War II. We here in this church community resist prejudice, oppression, and discrimination. Sometimes in real life, the good guys win. This coming Friday, it will be a year since we lost my big brother. His official cause of death was complications of leukemia, but what ultimately happened was that he got a kidney stone, which caused a staph infection, a bacterial infection which is antibiotic resistant, and his weakened immune system could not fight it off. In the real world, unlike Hollywood, sometimes the good guy doesn't win. So we light this chalice today in the name of resistance, both good and bad. And now a story for all ages.
Tell me how to do this. Somebody know how to raise the microphone up. Yeah, like that. There we go. Thank you. Okay. So, our story today is called 1,000 No's. And I have to say, I'm not so sure, I'm such a perfectionist here with English. I'm not so sure we're supposed to use this here. What about all you teachers out there? Do you know? Yeah? Okay, because it doesn't belong to anybody, right? Okay, sorry. I digress. So this is written by D.J. Cochran and illustrated by Dan Dougherty. Okay, now you can open it. Backwards one. Backwards one. There we go. Okay, raise it way up. Okay. One more. She had a great idea. Or at least she thought she did. That's when she got her first no. It was heavy. It was hard to carry. And it kind of hurt. It's just one no, she thought. Surely I can handle one no. Then she got a second no. Ugh. This no was heavier than the last, and it was harder to carry, and it hurt even more. No. She tried to stop them, but the no's got inside her idea. Her idea got bigger. Enough, she thought. Then, another no. No, and another no, and another. Not only did her idea get heavier, but it got poked and twisted, and it started to change shape. Her idea got so big, it was clear she needed help. Look at all those no's. She wasn't sure how she felt about someone else helping her with her idea. After all, it was her idea. But this called for drastic measures. Really drastic measures. Look at that. What's she going to do with all those no's? No after no after no came. Some of them made her idea challenging. Some of them made it easier. Some split into pieces. There were just so many no's. She needed more and more people to help. But soon, something interesting happened. She began to get curious about what her idea might end up looking like. In fact, it became fun for everyone to add more no's and see how her idea would change and grow. No, 997, no, 998, no, 999, and on the 1000th no, she looked up and saw her great idea. It didn't look anything like it did before, but she was okay with that. Everybody see what happened? The no turned into a yes. The end. Hey, I just wanted to remind everybody that we are collecting food items for the canned food drive. And we're going to be taking the, and we're not just talking about cans, boxes and stuff like that too, just as long as it's not perishable. Mostly people are asking for canned meats, proteins, peanut butter, things like that. And next week, the kids are going to be doing our food hunt instead of an Easter egg hunt. The Easter Bunny wants the kids to find food for the hungry. And then the week after that, we are going to do a field trip to the Salem Food Pantry, also known as Second Harvest. So if you could bring in those items, anytime during the week or even early on Sunday morning, we can still accept those. So, and cash is also welcome because I think that they can buy more food with cash than they can, they can feed more people with the cash than they can with the food donations. So thank you very much, and it's time to go to class, and if the kids could join me over here at this door right here.
Please join me in reciting our covenant, which is found in your order of service. Love is a spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Our church is completely supported by pledge income from members and friends like you. If you wish to make an offering to us, please designate on your check or envelope it is for UUYO. Our Giveaway the Plate recipient for April is Northeast Homeowners and Concerned Citizens. This is an active place-based organization serving residents and businesses on the northeast side of Youngstown for over 40 years. Their mission is to work towards the betterment and revitalization of neighborhoods on the northeast side of Youngstown and the surrounding areas by uniting area residents and collaborating with other neighborhood organizations to help maintain and improve property standards and advance the interests of the citizens residing in those areas. They are strongly committed to stimulating and enhancing the quality of life through civic awareness, involvement, and coordinating neighborhood beautification efforts. We will now receive the offering that supports the life of Youngstown, the Mahoning Valley, and our wider world.
Please join me in a time of meditation. We're going to have a silence for all the trees that fell, including one, I guess, out here.
Our reading this morning is entitled Palm Sunday by Eugene Gloria. Always the sky keeps expanding, wide as America's brave margins, wide as my loneliness in the Middle West. I lean against a dust cloud behind us, the glory sinking into a muted timberline. I am drunk with longing. The wind is singing, my drunken friend. The wind hurls sweet curses at my face. We have learned to love this road which lies down like pythons, refuses to give our excesses, refuses to consider us kin. Our driver's sign overhead reads, Jesus is my co-pilot. Jesus, who crossed the city gates of his ancestors on the road carpeted by palms. Our good time driver must know this. He drives with abandon. Despite our fragile cargo, scholars and accountants, prophets and exiles all the same to him. The road which suggests things is tired of ceremony. It lies down to sleep like the snow. Lie down, tall mountain, lie down. Seraphin Sakia, lie down. Li Young, lie down. Divakaruni, lie down. Iman Lakaba. Lie down, pilgrims of the open road. Shameless, we gather our light jackets and balls. We rest our heads, our faces upturned to the squall of stars. I near the end, my soul recites. Oh, loneliness, my body responds. The empty road is a house where no one lives. What a strange fire we bring when we come to this house.
This weekend, as I was finishing this sermon, I heard howling winds meeting the windows of my home, some distant thunder, And I thought to myself, oh no, please, not again. A first sign of resistance. Last Saturday, I was sitting in the exact same spot in my living room where I heard the sudden gust of wind, very powerful. It was so powerful, my body had one of those instinctive reactions. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you had that happen before? Like, you just know something is going to happen. You don't know what, but something is going to happen. So it was a few seconds after that feeling, maybe 10, 15 seconds, our power went out. Our power had gone out before. So I wasn't too flustered. I'm thinking, this probably will last a half hour. Usually it does. Not a big deal. It's the afternoon. It's bright and sunny. I'll go out for a little bit, come back in the evening, flick on a light, have some nice heat. I'm all right with that. Except something caught my eye. A spark of something. And I look out the kitchen window, and I see a power line in the middle of the street, dangled across the road, lying on the neighbor's property, right next to us. I walk out of the house, and I see a large tree from one of the neighbor's lawns bent over, which broke the power line and snapped the pole at the top. So the pole is in the street, wires in the street. And I remember my first reaction, which is, oh my God. And then the feeling of, this is kind of new territory for me. I've never been in a situation like this before. And I don't know if you relate, but when you're put into a new situation, one that is unfamiliar, it throws off your usual way of dealing with things. It becomes kind of a blank slate. And there are new opportunities for resistance. My first thought was to call the electric company. Saturday afternoon. I tried. And it rained and rained and rained. And I had to remind myself who our electric company was. Jennifer pays a lot of our bills, and so I'm thinking, Dominion? No, that's gas. Ohio Edison, yes, and I was so happy. I remember that. Ohio Edison. So I Googled Ohio Edison, and I saw that their hours for customer service were Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. This was Saturday afternoon. I Googled, what do you do when a power line is on the ground? It said, call 911. So I did. I called 911, and the 911 operator sounded pretty bored when I called them. There was no panic in their voice, but really very little interest as well. They said, okay, we'll send someone, check that out. Big fire trucks come. And I think, oh, good. You're going to help fix our power. No. I was mistaken. They said the only thing we can do is put ticker tape around the fallen power line so no one drives or tries to walk on the street. And I saw someone who, in a very matter-of-fact way, with a similar air of boredom on this bright, beautiful day, walked around putting ticker tape around the power line. And the next thought, what do I do now? And the resistance. I don't really want to be doing this on a Saturday afternoon. Maybe someone on our street can figure this out. But then I thought, what if they're all thinking like me? That someone who knows what to do will probably do something, so no one does anything. And we're further delayed. That's what I'm thinking. So I'm thinking, how can I get through to this electric company? There's definitely an obstacle, it seems. No customer service on the weekend. I found a website with a form, and I say on the form, no power, line down, tree, on ground. It goes somewhere in the internet. And I'm sitting there in the house with a power line in front of me. It's a beautiful view, right? And I see someone walking up the road. And they see the situation with the power line on the ground. They're kind of peering. They see the fallen tree. And they just turn around. And I get the idea, and I think it's a great idea. I'm going to call another Edison that has weekend customer hours, and maybe they can get through to someone at Ohio Edison. So I get through to a person who works for Southern California Edison. I'm so grateful. A person picks up, you know? And I tell them basically, help me, please. Help me. And the man on the other line says something that I've been pondering ever since. He said, "Oh, that's not us." I'm groping in the dark at this point. I say, "But you have the same company, Edison. There's no connection whatsoever?" He says, "Unfortunately, no, sir. That's not us." It reminded me of all the times we probably do that. I've done that too. Yeah, that's not us. And it's practical, right? It's very pragmatic, right? We think we can't help everyone. Certainly not everyone in the country, everyone in the world. You know, we say some version of, unfortunately, that's not us. I find myself more and more resistant to that reflex response. Yeah, that's not us. That's not us. So last Sunday morning, no one said anything. Maybe you're very, very polite. I woke up in the dark with a flashlight. Kind of scrambled to put clothes on. I washed my face, and I remembered something about maybe conserving water. So I didn't even shower. And I'm in the car, and I had the realization I didn't even look at myself in the mirror. I didn't really feel like it with a flashlight. It's kind of weird, like, you know? So I discovered that Taco Bell does not have very good coffee. And like many of us, I muddled through, resisting every step of the way. We didn't have power for 5 days, like many of you. And I remember come Monday morning, an electric company van comes and parks at the end of the street. I was like a castaway at this point. So I leave the house. And I immediately go outside, and I greeted this woman and said, "Thank you for fixing this." She said, "Oh, no, sir. I'm not going to fix anything. I'm just here to assess." She looked at the road, saw the power line. Yeah, saw the tree. She looks at me and she said, "This looks bad." I said, "I know." And then I got desperate. And I said, "Ma'am, I know you can't give me, I never say ma'am, it was weird, but I said, I know you can't give me a promise or tell me how long definitively it's going to take to restore power. I know you can't. Can you please give me just a general open estimate?" And she looked at me with, I have to say, it was a degree of empathy, but she did her job. She said, "Sir, I can't tell you anything." Again, a reminder of all the roles we play, right, without even thinking about it. Boundaries that make some pragmatic sense, they do, but that can kind of get in the way of empathy sometimes. I'm not going to give you the rest of the saga. just again, that we were out of power for 5 days, and just as I was fine-tuning this sermon, almost a week exactly, yeah, the power went out again. I'm on the laptop talking about this. Power goes out again. I thought I was done. I thought I had accomplished my inner-outer resistance. And no, the saga continues. Resistance. I don't want this to be happening right now, but we're very fortunate. We're very fortunate. We're very fortunate to be here during this very special time of year. Various traditions, I think, can give us a few different lenses at looking at resistance that are not just instinctive, not just, I don't want this, but creative kinds of resistance that can open up new vistas of experience. We're right now in the middle of Ramadan. And for those who are not Muslim, there's usually some resistance to one of the common practices for healthy adults. You know what it is? Yeah, fasting. Fasting from dusk until sunset. I remember the first time I met someone who practiced this during Ramadan. He was an engineering student from Egypt and was living in a hostel in Harlem where he cleaned for 6 hours in exchange for a free bed. And he did this while fasting. And I still remember this to this day. He would go through more or less the same ritual at sunset. He would jump up. He would go to a food cart and get some halal food, chicken and rice or something like that, and an orange soda. And in silence, he sat in the courtyard, enjoying this meal, drinking orange soda, and then he would smoke a cigarette. Up until that point, I had never seen anyone appreciate food and pleasure of the taste buds that deeply. He looked both invigorated and relaxed at the same time. The purpose of Ramadan is to open up a connection to God and to our neighbors, and to see how, it's part of the same thing, connection to God and our neighbors, our family. One woman I know who practices Ramadan said she fasts as an act of solidarity for those who not having food is not of their own choosing, those who are forced to live in hunger. Choosing something, that brings its own resistance, and a situation beyond your control, that's another kind of resistance, one that goes beyond just something simple. And I'm interested in that. I'm interested in the kind of resistance we experience that comes to us in situations we don't choose, and acts of resistance that we decide to choose. Fasting is to make a choice for those who are able and healthy enough to open their body for a certain period of time to new revelation, to something new. And there are, of course, many other practices that a person can choose that gives them a different take on their life, opening up to something mysterious and profound. This coming Wednesday, coming up, is the beginning of Passover, another powerful tradition. It's the eve of the Exodus. It's the beginning of the journey toward liberation. And what I find so powerful for those who don't know the story, it's a long and complicated journey toward liberation. It's not easy, and it's jam-packed with resistance pretty much every step of the way. And the ways we resist liberation, because we're comforted by the usual way we conduct our lives, our habits that both imprison and comfort us at the same time. Except in this story, it's a false comfort that most of us confuse for the real thing. The real thing. Real liberation. Brings us to a road that leads ultimately to the unknown. An unknown promised land that we'll never know unless we go on the journey and experience it for ourselves. And the people in the story are resistant to leaving their familiar territory. And I think all of us probably can relate to that, right? But nonetheless, they go on that journey, even with resistance. That's the key. And that, for me, is the great and powerful teaching of that story. We don't need to give up our resistance in order to journey toward liberation, toward wholeness, whatever that may mean. And if we're honest, we're not really sure what that means, right? But it teaches us that resistance is built in to the journey. And we can be honest about that. We can resist and still follow through with our own best sense of what is freeing, opening, liberating. We shouldn't wait idly by until we get rid of our resistance, because you know what? Probably not ever going to happen. And then today is Palm Sunday. You see what I mean by this being a very, very loaded and special time of year? And this kind of resistance is done intentionally. It's choice. It's a street performance. And it's choreographed. And it makes some really powerful points about how to resist in a way that is ultimately life-saving and freeing. Jesus gets the idea that he's going to take this journey on a road from the Mount of Olives to Jerusalem. And to fulfill the biblical prophecy of a new Messiah, he decides he will ride a donkey into Jerusalem. Yeah, hee-haw. And that, for me, is one of the most important parts of the story, the part that moves me the most. The donkey is a symbol of humility, of being lowly, common. He intentionally decides to ride a donkey, not a majestic, rare breed of horse. I mean, to use a modern analogy, you can like it or not. It's like entering the city in a Hyundai instead of a Ferrari, But it's intentional. That's the point. It's not because he can't find something better. He chooses intentionally what is humble and what is common. So what is humble and common, at least in the eyes of the world, is exalted. He turns the world upside down. And he turns the value systems of our world upside down. What we find most unimpressive, most common, oh my gosh, it becomes the most prized thing. It's a choice of where we place our values. And some of the people in Jerusalem, they catch on to what he's doing, and they wave palms, which was something that people did after military victories. There's a new king in town. But Jesus makes the point that the victory comes through what is most common, what is humble, often overlooked. He doesn't carry a sword. He doesn't seek to be impressive or better than anyone else. That's the real victory. To see God in the most common of things, the most common of people. To see it in ourselves before we've achieved what we thought we might achieve. The road that is commonly traveled by all of us becomes exalted. And what it exalts is a radical kind of ambition to lift up what is ignored and forgotten, including our own ignored and forgotten lives, and lift it up. And this is a practice of both inner and outer resistance. Lifting up what is marginal in ourselves, so we can joyfully lift up those on the margins of our culture. And it can work the other way around, if that's your personality. Lifting up who is marginal in our community, so we might fully lift up ourselves in our simple, everyday humanity. Certain situations are handed to us without choice, and some can occur through a real intentional choice. And I think it's a very subtle and deep practice to welcome the situations beyond our control in their fullness, including our own resistance, inner and outer resistance, and the kind of creativity in choosing the kind of inner and outer resistance that serves us in a moment, going forward. Resisting our own tendency to give up our full autonomy and ability to make some choice, while staying humble, knowing we're not the complete master of everything that happens. The road is always there. And how we move on that road, it's not fully dictated to us. I might dance on that road. Do you expect that? May we do our best to move on that road for the benefit of others, right? Exalting the life we're already living. No power, whatever. Living together. That's all I'm going to say this morning. Please pray with me. Spirit of love, so grateful for a place with heat and light and Wi-Fi, and oh yes, really great people. Just really grateful for everyone who made it out today on Zoom and Facebook and in person here. So grateful for a community of love and support and kind challenge to be more fully whole, to be more fully ourselves. Please guide us as we build the land to lift up everyone in our community, to lift us up to our God-given birthright. All this we pray. Amen. And please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, 121, We'll Build the Land.
Be a land nations from earth, restoring ruins of generations. Or we'll build a land of people so proud. Come build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come build a land where the mantles of praises resound from spirits once faint and once weak, where like oaks of righteousness stand the people. Oh, come build the land, my people, we seek. Come build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we keep in our hearts until we meet again.
As you depart, please remember the one great fact. You are loved. And never truly alone.